Hello, everyone. My name is Brent Powell, and this is my Share It presentation for Nursing 452 practicum. Um, the the community that I chose to address was my home county of Adair County, Kentucky. Um, um, the specific population that I chose to address was children living in poverty. The reason that I chose that was a couple things. I found that through the county health rankings that as many as 37% um, of the children in Adair County live in poverty, it's estimated. And when adjusting for error of margin, it could be even as high as 47%. So almost half the children in the county could possibly be living below the poverty line. Um, and then that coupled with the information that I found in other studies, especially a study by, I can't pronounce the name, Gellobards in 2008. There was a systematic review of 40 different studies, found that children from lower socioeconomic backgrounds were at a much higher risk for negative health outcomes. Um, Including cardiovascular disease, excuse me, and cancers. Um, and so I really thought it would be important to, um, uh, as a primary prevention, um, really make a focus to educate young children and their parents as well on the importance of um, getting preventative care in the form of well care visits, well child visits um, for these children. Because I was also able to find information that when children um, are taken to these visits, well child visits, that they have better outcomes later in life. And so I thought all that together just made sense to provide education. Um, my focus initially was to I wanted to provide education to the parents, but I had trouble figuring out how to get all the parents together, um, uh, many parents together at all. So I got with a teacher friend of mine at the local um, uh, elementary school, and I said, hey, can I come talk to your class, and maybe even send some information home. So I thought if I could teach the kids how that it was important to go to the doctor on a regular basis for well care, well child. I keep saying well care, well child visits, and then send some information home with them. Then that would get it to the parents as well, and hopefully they'll read it and maybe take them to the doctor a little bit more. Um, so I did that. Um, the specific Healthy People 2020 um, goal to increase the proportion of parents who receive information from their doctors or other healthcare professionals when they have a concern about their children's learning development or behavior. Um, so that was the focus there. Um, Also, the information that I sent home with the parents, and I will link that in the thread as well. I'll try to remember to do that. Was a couple of just printouts from one was from the American Academy of Pediatrics that reviewed their recommendations on the well child visits, just a schedule that they recommend that the parents take their uh, children to, and then also it was an article from the Journal of the American Medical Association of Pediatrics. Um, just just again reinforcing the importance of these visits and how best to approach them. Make sure that they plan ahead of time, and so that they can maybe think of questions that they maybe want to ask um, of the physician. Um, so some information that I found. the the Center on the Developing Child at Harvard University lists poor health in childhood as a risk factor for adult conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, other forms of cancer, depression, anxiety, other mental health problems. So anytime we can, get children into the doctor for when they're not sick, uh, for these well-child visits to prevent them from getting sick, and to possibly ward off um, just an unhealthy lifestyle. It's just going to give them a better chance to become healthy adults. So that was the focus of my presentation, and the information that I was sending home. Again, it was geared toward um, a a second grade class, so I had to um, really um, think about how I was going to present that to that audience. But it ended up being pretty fun. Um, I was able to put together a PowerPoint, and work in a little humor. I knew I had just a short amount of attention span. I knew, after 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, that they would just be checking out. So um, I did work in a little bit of humor, tried to, and they seemed to receive that well. Um, at the end of the presentation, I tried to just ask some questions via the PowerPoint and get sort of a verbal response from them as a method of evaluation. In hindsight, that didn't really work that well. It was too chaotic. I didn't get any concrete numbers on that. I, I was worried about the different reading levels, and doing a handout sort of test evaluation. Um, Probably what I would have done differently is maybe just have illustrations of healthy choices, actual drawings of healthy choices, and let them circle the healthy choices, or ask the questions um, in a manner where they would be able to circle an illustration of the correct answer. Um, Another reason why it was important uh, to address this population were not only the kids but the parents themselves. I found information um, um, from a study by Abdus and Selden in 2013 that show that parents living below the poverty line are, let's see, considerably less likely. I'm not sure the number exactly. Um, um, Considerably less likely to adhere to that recommended American um, uh, American Association of Pediatricians, um, that AAP guideline, those recommendations, and also parents living in the South are nearly 33% less likely to adhere to that. So, Kentucky, it's in the South, and certainly with the amount of folks below the poverty line in this county, I thought that um, the children are certainly much less likely to be going to these types of visits, and that's going to set them up for failure in the future. Um, so I wanted to get the word out, educate the children, try to send some information home to the parents. But if nothing else, at least the kids will maybe take something away from this, and uh, maybe they'll remember this when they're a little older, and maybe it's time to go to the doctor and they don't want to, but maybe they'll remember that it's important to. Um, so let's see. I want to make sure I've covered everything. Again, I'll try to also send I gave the kids um, a Bright Futures um, activity book that was also from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Um, and it's just an activity book where they can color, and it has information. And one of the specific activities talks about the importance of going to the doctor on a regular basis. So um, yeah, again, just everything it worked out pretty well. Again, just my evaluation method was not on par with what it should have been. So I would change that in hindsight, and probably uh, may have tried to make it a little bit shorter. I definitely lost their attention at about the, you know, 13, 14, 15-minute mark. They were everywhere, but paying attention to me. So maybe next time if I ever do this again, I'll shoot for maybe just a couple grades higher, or try to shorten the presentation. But all right, well, thank you very much, and all right, good luck, everybody. Thanks.